this is the dress I ordered from Tiger Boutique. I wish I would have had it because I probably would have wore this because it's so comfy and cute. I recreated this look, and if you guys can see on my eye, it transferred. Like, the glitter is going everywhere. So I can never win with that. Did I struggle? The struggle is real here. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you, and I did curl my hair when we went out, but it's 2:31 in the morning here, so I'm just gonna talk to you guys about how I met my soulmate. If you guys have watched my other story time videos, you will hear about me talking about my husband, how he was the guy I kissed. First time I ever kissed any guy is when I was 11 years old or 12 years old. I was in 6th grade. He was a freshman, I believe. We are 3 years apart. So we met. We used to hang out at the hill in the North Valley. And one of our friends had told me that he had liked me and he wanted to hook up with me. And I was like, well, I don't even know how to French kiss. I've never had a boyfriend, nothing. So I don't know. Told me how to French kiss. So I was like, okay, nice to know. The guy that's my husband now, he told me to, he started talking to me. He was like really shy, and I was kind of shy too. And he told me that he wanted to talk to me, or no, we just started talking, and we started walking down our street, and we went to this one little wall. And we kissed there, and my first French kiss, both of our first, well, actually it wasn't his first French kiss, it was my first French kiss. So we kissed at the wall, and he told me that his parents weren't home, and he wanted me to come to his house, and I was like, okay, you know, I'm only 12 years old, and I was like, okay. To his house, and his parents weren't there, and we were on his waterbed, and we were kissing and making out, and he starts kissing on my neck, and I told him, don't be doing that, because you're gonna give me a hickey, and I'm gonna get in trouble. Well, he ended up saying, I'm not gonna give you a hickey, I'm just kissing your neck. Well, he ended up giving me a hickey on my neck. And I didn't know this yet, and he tried to get into my pants. Sorry guys, TMI. But he tried to get in my pants, and I told him no. And so he stopped, and he tried again, and I told him no, and so he stopped. And my mom, we lived down, okay, I lived down the street, and he lived like this way and down the street. And he lived like in a cul-de-sac. And my mom went looking for me. So I hear her car. She drove a Camaro. And I hear her screaming my name, Janelle, Janelle. And I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. He tells me before I go to the mirror that he's sorry that he gave me a hickey, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no, don't tell me that. And he's like, yeah, I did, I'm sorry. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? My mom's gonna kick my ass, my dad's gonna kick my ass. Like, I'm not supposed to date, I'm not supposed to have boyfriends, nothing. I'm young, you know. And so he's like, well, come to my mom's bathroom and here's some foundation. We'll put foundation on your neck and your mom won't notice. But I'm like, okay, but my mom's gonna notice because you don't know her. Like back in the days, they were always like, if you were even hiding your hair and like being all cool trying to hide your hickey, you know, my mom was like, you know, hello. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't do this. So I put on foundation. And I try to cover it up, like we're all cool, we're all smart, right? Well, we're not. So I go out the door, and my mom's like, so what were you doing? What were you doing in there? And who was this person's house? And I was like, it's one of my friends. And so my hair's all like this, and I'm sitting in this car, and I'm just like acting all cool and acting like I'm all bad, you know, and I'm trying not to move so much this way or that way so she don't see. And she's like, and she sees the hickey right there, And she's all, boom, boom, what the hell are you doing with the hickey? I don't think she said that because I don't think my mom cussed back then. She was like, what the heck? I mean, why do you have a hickey on your neck and blah, blah, blah. And wait till your dad finds out and he's going to hit you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm ready. I'm prepared for it. So we get home. She tells my dad and shows my dad I have a hickey, and he smacks me and hits me, and I'm like in so much trouble, right? So my man, I'm all cute, right? I'm all 12 years old, 11 years old, I'm all cute. And you had your little first kiss and you're like, oh, puppy love, so cute, you know? So anyways, I'm waiting for him to come and see me, right? So he ends up coming a couple of days to my house, or maybe the next day, I don't really remember. And he comes with the little, you know those little, I'm gonna have to look and I'll show you, I'll add it in the video, the little candy machine. You know how they sell gumballs, and they're in a little machine, you put a quarter, you turn it and it pops out? Well, those little plastic containers that had the little play rings in it, you know, that had like the little ring and then it has little cute things or little toy things on top. He ended up buying me one of those rings, and he ended up coming to my grandma's house. Parents' house, we live here, grandparents live on the other side. So he ended up going to my grandma's house that day with one of his friends that taught me how to French kiss, right? So he ends up going to my grandma's, and we're talking through the screen door, and you know, my grandma is doing whatever, maybe making dinner, I don't know, whatnot. Well, my parents are on this side of the house, right? Grandparents' house, and then you could park a vehicle in the middle there, and then grandparents' house. So we're out talking outside, we're all being all cool, and he gives me this little ring. My dad comes out, pops out the door, right? And he catches them talking to me, and he shoos them away. He's like, get the heck out of here. You have no business talking to my daughter, and blah, blah, blah. And then I think he said my sister told him something too. So he got really scared, and he didn't want to come back to visit me because they told him off, you know, so he was scared. So I don't think I ever seen him after that time. Yeah, I don't think I ever seen him after that. So my dad calls me over to his house. I walk over there, and I know I'm getting my butt beat again because I'm in trouble. So he ends up hitting me with the broom, and he's like, what the heck? What did I tell you already? You're not supposed to be talking to him. You're not supposed to be going out. You're a little mocosita. You know how they used to tell you that? You're a little mocosita. You don't know nothing. You don't even know how to wipe your butt right. You know? You don't need, no sabes a limpiar tu nalgas. You don't know how to wipe your ass. But you know what? I thought I did. Just kidding. And so anyways, never seen him after that. And so I used to see him on the ditch, and he started dating his baby mama. And so every time I would walk down the ditch, because my mom told me this, if someone really likes you a guy, they will make every effort to see you no matter what. So I always listened to that, and my nana used to say that too. So I was like, he didn't really like me then, you know? So I would see him with baby mama down the ditch, and I would just like look at him and throw him genios and be like, oh. I was so mad at him because I liked him. I wanted him to keep coming to visit me because I wanted to date him, all little and stupid and tonta, you know? So anyways, he got scared, and he never wanted to disrespect my dad anymore, and you know, so he never went to go see me. So he thought I was a bitch because I was always throwing him dirty looks and I didn't give him the time of day. But I was hurt with him because he never came and acknowledged me anymore. So anyways, I went off about my day, and I never forgot him because he gave me my first hickey. He was my first kiss, and I got beat up for him, right? So I always used to talk about him and tell everybody the story that he made me get my ass kicked. Just kidding. At 12, 11 years old. I went about my life, you know. He went about his life. I always used to think and wonder if he still lived in the same place, right? Well, I guess he didn't live in the same place. He moved and had his life, and he grew up as well. And I would drive down the street sometimes once in a while, but I never seen him or anything. So I thought maybe he had moved, you know, somewhere. And so I went about my life. I got married. I had twin boys that are 18 now and a daughter that's 24. So yeah. So after, let's see. How old am I now? I was 11. 22 years, we both grew up, lived life, had families, going through a divorce, almost getting ready for the papers to be finalized. I'm going through Facebook and I'm looking through people's friends list, right? Which I hardly ever, rarely do, you know? So I was looking through one of my friends' friends list that went to school with me also. I went to with him to his school too and knew him, and I ended up clicking on the name. I didn't know if it was him for sure, but I clicked on his name, and when he added me, I seen his pictures and it was him, and I was like, oh my gosh, like wow. And so I click on his page, and I'm looking through his pictures and stuff, and all of a sudden I read in a relationship, and I was like, oh goodness, like I don't do that, you know, I don't step on anybody's toes. I got off his page, I just got off his page and I went about my business, and I showed my mom that day. I was like, look, do you remember the guy that you used to, the guy that gave me a hickey and you beat me for? And she was like, yeah, and she was like, he's cute. And I was like, I know, huh? Wasn't gonna ruin anyone's relationship because my ex-husband cheated on me a lot, you know. So and I'm not a home wrecker. So I went about my business, and all of a sudden I got a message from him, and he was like, hey stranger, and I was like, hey. And so then he was like, so he messaged me saying, we need to catch up and have some coffee or something. Go have some coffee and catch up. And I told him, you're in a relationship. I don't do that. I don't step on people's toes. And he was like, I only put that on my Facebook because a lot of people stalk me. That's what he told me. And so I was like, okay. So I was like, are you sure? Positive? And he was like, yes, I'm positive. You can text me, call me at any time. And I was like, okay. So I kind of got the point. I kind of got it, like he wasn't with anybody, but he had just said that on his Facebook. So we ended up, so we made plans to meet up, okay guys? That day I think we ended up going out was when our papers got finalized. So I was officially divorced on the day we went on our date. It was around September 2011. And so he picked me up. And I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna tell you all detail. When he drove up to my house, I said he looks like a nerd, or nerd. And he read my lips and he heard me say that. Oh my gosh. And he'll even tell me that to this day. And I was like, that's funny because he had these glasses, I'm sorry, but he looked like a nerd with these ugly glasses. He had them for years, Oakley glasses, you know, and then he had a pair of sunglasses with Oakleys. And I just thought every time he wore them, he looked like a nerd to me. I hated him. I still hate him. He wore them for a long time and he didn't want to get rid of them. And I'm like, please get rid of him. He looked like a nerd with them. And so finally he ended up getting rid of them because he couldn't find those kind of glasses anymore, which is funny. Neither one of us knew how this was going to turn out to be, right? I was with my ex-husband for 10 years. We were married 8 years, and I'm just a very shy person, so I had been separated for a year and a half now and finally officially divorced. I think our divorce took like a year to go through. So I'm a very shy person at all times. When I go on dates, I'm very shy, I'm very quiet, I don't really talk much. I'm very observant to everything. And with him, it was totally different. He didn't think nothing of it either. He thought we were just gonna be friends and just go for go for coffee and catch up. So we ended up going to dinner that day. He ended up taking me to dinner, and we always go around December. That's when we got married. And we go to the same place, and we try to go to Starbucks as well and have some coffee. That's where we went after we went to dinner. So we go to Bravo and we eat dinner there, and we're talking, and let me tell you guys, like, this guy was totally different. He wasn't like any other guy that I was with. When we met and went to dinner that night, it was like he was my best friend. Like, I knew him for years, you know? And I was just talking. Like, I never have talked before. I was not shy with him. I was talking to him like I knew him for years, I'm telling you. And I just knew at that moment that we were going to be together. You know? So we're talking and everything, and he's like freaking out too. He says like it was like totally different for him too. He didn't expect it, and it was like we were connecting, you know? So anyways, we finish up dinner, and he goes, I have something to say. And I'm like, what? And he's all, if I don't tell you guys this in this story, it's not going to be our story. So I have to add this in there. He goes, I wasn't going to tell you this. And I was upfront with him right away. Like, I'm not here to play. I'm not here to mess around with anybody. Like, if you're with someone, you need to tell me, you know, because your Facebook does say you're in a relationship. I have gotten cheated on 3 times. I don't want that in my life anymore. And I don't want to wreck anybody's family or anybody's relationship. I don't want to be that person in the middle or break someone's heart. So I'm sorry, I can't do that. So I told him right away, and I'm not going to be with some guy that's a cheater. I'm not going to date someone like that. I don't want that in my life. I want different. And he's like, I wasn't going to tell you anything, but after you told me that, he said, I have to tell you something. And I was like, oh, great. And he's all, my ex-wife lives with me. So I have a house, but we can't go to it. He had told me that before, and I was like, okay, that seems kind of weird. And so I was just like, after he told me that, everything starts going through your mind, huh? Because, you know, we're women, everything goes through our mind like, what the heck, like, blah, blah, blah. You know, is he trying to play with you? I'm helping her out, and she's been needing or wanting to move out. And I was like, okay. So I was kind of iffy about believing him or not. And I was like, well, maybe he is telling me the truth, you know? I don't know. And then I kind of realized that I kind of was helping out my ex-husband a little bit, because I felt sorry for him because a lot of his family wasn't around for him. So I think I probably would have done the same thing, or my ex-husband would have did the same thing for me, you know, if he wasn't on drugs. So I was like, okay, I kind of understand that. Maybe he's not with her, you know? So anyways, he drops me off. Oh, so after we eat dinner, we go to Starbucks and we drink a Frappuccino, and we're just hanging out, and we're just like talking about everything. We're just clicking, we're connecting. And so he ends up dropping me off at my mom's house. Now. And I ended up going, I think we got down and we go for a walk to where we kissed at our wall. And he tells me, I don't hold hands on the first day. I don't kiss on the first day. And I was laughing. I was like, you know what? this isn't our first date, and this isn't like the first time that we've known each other. We kissed at 12 years old. You gave me a hickey at 12 years old, I said. So you're gonna kiss me and you're gonna hold my hand. And he was like, he didn't want to, right? And I was like, you're gonna. Like, we've known each other forever. So I grab his hand and I start holding his hand and I kiss him. And I gave him a hickey because I wanted to see if he was not lying to me. He doesn't want to let me, but he finally lets me. And I'm like, no, I'm going to give you one. You gave me one at 12 years old and I got beat for it. So I'm giving you one. So I ended up giving him a hickey. He goes home that night and he's like, I'm not with no one. Like, I'm not. And I'm like, okay. So he goes home, and after that, it was like he always wanted to be with me every night. And I was like, yeah, we started falling in love with each other. And we had some good times. Like, we were so in love. Like, it was so awesome. And like, I say it now, he says it. He never knew what love was, you know, and I never knew what love was. I wasn't in love with my ex-husband, you know, even when we got married, even when we were together. He was young. I didn't want to be with him. I didn't want to marry him, anything. He knew this too, and he always used to tell me that I would fall in love with him eventually. Well, that never happened. And he was really ugly, like very abusive, mentally manipulator. He was crazy. I even talk about the story when he got me drugged. Anyways, let's not talk about that. So we were inseparable. We always seen each other every day. We were hanging out. I think his ex-wife finally moved out, and ever since she moved out, I moved in, and he was always telling me like, this is your house. He would always talk to me like, this is your house. This is your house too. I'm gonna marry you one day. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, we're gonna get married. And I was like, yeah, right. And so he fell in love with my boys. My boys liked him. Like, I was dating some other guy. Like, it wasn't really serious, but I was dating some guy. I respect my kids. Like, I didn't have my kids all over with guys that I was with. Never really ever, except for one guy I was with. I asked my boys if they wanted to meet him, and they told me no. So I respect their wishes, and I didn't force them or make them, you know, meet him or anything. But it was really different, and the boys really liked him. And I asked the boys, you know, do you want to meet him? And they were like, yeah. So when they met him, they really liked my husband. Everything just clicked. Like, it was really nice. My ex-husband had called CYFD on me and was telling him that my parents' house wasn't safe for my kids to be in. CYFD had told me that I needed to take my kids out of that environment, so I did. And so my husband told me that he was gonna do some repairs to the one room that he needed to do. And so then CYFD ended up coming, checking the house and everything, and they started staying with us there at his home. And so we started dating in September, and we got married in December. He told me that he was gonna marry me, and so one night we ended up going to this club and we were partying, and he asked me that next day, he told me, will you marry me? And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, will you marry me? He's like, I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And I was like, are you still drunk? I'm just kidding. And he was like, no. And I was like, are you sick? Do you have a headache? And he was like, no. And I was so happy because I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him too, and I wanted to marry him. So I was like, yes, I will. What are you even asking that question for? Of course. So even before we got married, he would always say, like, this is our house, this is our family, this is, you know, those were his kids. He fell in love with my kids and everything. My kids fell in love with him. And so I had to go to San Francisco for something that I used to work for, ACN or something like that. And so we were all going to San Francisco to go to some kind of meeting or conference out there. And so I told him if he would go driving with me, and he said yeah. So we ended up going to San Francisco. My kids stayed with my ex-husband. at the time, and he was doing drugs and stuff, and he would take off on him and stuff like that. And the kids were calling me, they were crying, they were saying, hurry up, get back home. So I think we stood out there for a week, and he said, on the way back, we will get married in Vegas. And I was like, yeah, right. And he was like, yeah. So we didn't take no family, we didn't tell no one. We ended up going out there, and on the way back, we went to San Francisco. We ended up eating at Ruth Chris Steakhouse out there in San Francisco. Oh, it was so good. And we ended up sharing a steak. We came back and we stopped at the San Diego Zoo, and I have a picture of that as well. And we ended up going to the zoo and everything, and we took a picture out there. And I was really thin at the time. I weighed 130. And now I'm not 130. I'm working on it though, guys. So anyways, we come back to Vegas. Oh, and get this, I don't have a ring. He doesn't propose to me with the ring. He doesn't purchase me a ring yet. So when he proposed to me, he did get my hand, and he asked me to marry him, and which is funny because there's no ring. So we go to Vegas. I mean, we're coming back home to Albuquerque. We stop at Vegas. We stay there like 3 days, I think, and we get married there. So we got married December 5th, 2011. 3 months that we were together, we got married in December. September, October, November, December, go to this chapel and we get married. And oh my gosh, I was the happiest woman ever. He was too. And so we get married and we come back home, and I go pick up my kids, and I tell my my ex-husband, he knew why I was going out there, and he was like begging me not to get married. And I'm like, you're crazy. Yes, I am. You know, I love him. And he's like, how can you love him when you've been with me for like 10 years? And I'm like, you never loved me? And I'm like, no. And he's like, how can you love him? And I was like, because I do. I fell in love with him. He's my soulmate. He's my best friend. He's like, every time, sometimes that we talk, we still do it. Like, we'll be saying something at the same time, and it's so cute. And we're like, pinch a poke, you owe me a Coke, you know? Like, we have some good times. And don't get me wrong, guys. Every marriage has a rough time and bumpy roads, and sometimes we have a love and hate relationship. Like, I have a love and hate relationship with my Morphe brushes, you know. Sometimes there's times where we can't stand each other, and you know, we're fighting and arguing, and then the next minute we're loving each other, you know, after you get over the fight. Which is funny. So I tell my ex-husband that I got married. I really did it. And he is holding me. I'm telling you. He grabs me and he holds me and he's like, please, 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 no, like annul it. Get an annulment and don't do it, or get a whatever that is. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. I love him. Bye. You know, so I grab my kid, and he's crying, like crying. And I'm just like, I hold him, and I kind of feel sorry for him because, you know, when we were going, starting like our separation, you know, and everything was said and done, I kind of not loved him because I wasn't in love with him, but I felt like, you know, when you're with someone for so many years that you're just like, oh, I have to start all over again, you know, you're used to that person already. So when he was crying, I just felt sorry for him because I was there at one time where he didn't really care about me. Like, he had gone on with his life, you know. So I was just like, I felt sorry for him. I gave him a hug and I'm like, I'm sorry. And he was like, just please think about it, get an annulment. I was like, okay, no, I'm not gonna do that, but okay, bye. So get the boys and everything, go back home. And after that, it's been 8 years that we've been together. We just had an anniversary, December 6th. I keep saying December 5th. December 6th. And we just celebrated that. And we went, there's a Ruth Chris Steakhouse here in Albuquerque. So we ended up going there for our anniversary and having steak and enjoying our day with each other. So I don't have a ring on my finger, and I tell him, you know, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Like, you don't have to get me a ring. We'll get a ring later on. Let's just get married and then we'll deal with the ring later. I said a lot of people always go in, they have their ring, engagement ring, and then they go in with everything, and let's just be different. Like, we didn't have time for a ring. You didn't have the money to buy me a ring. We hadn't really planned to go looking for one. You didn't go looking for one. I didn't tell you what I like or shopping for rings. So I said, and even let's go out in Vegas. If we find one, we find one. If we don't, we don't. Just get married without a ring. So we ended up getting married without me wearing a ring and him not having a ring, right? So I don't think a lot of people believe that we were married. So we come back home. We don't tell his parents because he's just like, I don't want to tell my parents yet. And I was like, maybe he's with his ex-wife, you know? You start thinking crazy again, ladies. So I was like, maybe he's with his ex-wife. Why wouldn't he want to tell his family? Well, his grandpa was kind of sick. No, kind of. His grandpa was sick at the time. We ended up telling his mom that we got married. So we tell his mom for Christmas that we had gotten married when we went to Vegas. She was like, she takes a sip of her liquor that she was drinking. I don't know what she was drinking. She takes a sip of that and she's all, what? Wait, I gotta sit down for this. And she sits down in her chair and she's like, she tells her grandson, did you know about this? And he was like, yeah. And she was like, what? And then she asks her grandson's friend, did you know? And he was like, yeah. And she was like, takes another sip and she's just like trying to soak this all in, and she's like, what? And then we're like, yeah, we got married in Vegas. And she was like, oh my goodness. And she gets up, she gives us a hug, and she tells us she's happy for us and congratulations and everything. We haven't told her grandparents yet, I mean his grandparents yet, and she doesn't tell her parents yet. So then after a while we end up going to their house and we tell them that we got married in Vegas. They were like, we were wondering why you were out there for a long time, wondering what you were up to. I would tell a lot of people that we were married and they would just like look at my hands like, are they lying? You know, there's no ring on the finger. So after a while, I think like a couple of months or maybe a month went by, he ended up purchasing me a ring. I picked it out. I had a smaller one, and I ended up upsizing to 1/2 carat. I wanted a 2 carat, but it wasn't there anymore, I don't think. So this is my ring. And so after that, everything was history. And everybody used to tell him, like, he was in a band when I had met him, and he would always tell me, like, everybody wants to know who this new girl is. They say that I have a big old smile and I'm so different now. And so I ended up meeting his friends, and they were like, oh, so this is the girl that changed his life. And I was like, what do you guys mean? And they're like, your husband is just a different person. And I was like, oh, okay. So his grandparents loved me. I was so worried and so scared that his grandparents weren't gonna like me, but his mom knew me because I used to go to her house when I was little, and I would go knock on her door, me and my cousin, because my cousin she was her librarian, I think, or teacher when my cousin was little and young going to school. So we would always go over there so we could see if my husband was home. He was never home, but we'd always go knock on her door and we would talk to her, and she knew what we were doing, you know. So when we ended up meeting her finally for the first time, we clicked, you know. She liked me, I liked her. It wasn't really awkward because we kind of knew each other. When I met his grandparents, I was scared, I was nervous, but they fell in love with me. I fell in love with them that I could have ever met. They loved me, they loved my kids, they accepted my kids into the family, you know. So everything worked out and turned out for the good. My kids love him. He loves my kiddos. So yeah, that's how it happened. And I'm still in love with him. Made it through 8 years, like wow. Oh, and we always used to tell each other like, dang, we wish we would have been together since we were young all this time. Like we could have been married for 22 years. No, it would have been 22 plus the 8 now. Wow. Been married or together for 30 years. And we're like, we look back and we kind of say that, but then we're like, you know what? Things happen for a reason. It had to happen how it did. And now we're finally where we are now. Thank you to my Facebook friend that didn't hide her friend list or get rid of it or whatever people do. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, because if it wouldn't have been for that one day, I would have never found my hubby that I have now. He even took in my grandpa. He's been living with us and he loves my grandpa too. My grandpa loves him, and it's been so awesome. Like, there's a lot of men that don't do that, you know. So my husband is the best. So thank you guys so much for sticking around and listening to me ramble about how I met my soulmate. Don't forget, guys, don't leave. Before you all leave, hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you are notified every time I upload and you won't miss a video. Hit that like button so that'll help my feed out. And don't forget, if you guys want to order anything from tigerboutique.com, use my code JGirl and you will get 15% off, I think, I'm not too sure. There's a lot of cute little outfits on there and accessories. 3:09 a.m. in the morning, so I'm gonna go wash my face and get to bed, guys. So thank you guys for sticking around, and thank everybody for the love and support. To all my subscribers, thank you for everyone that follows me and likes my pics on Instagram. Thank you guys so much. Can't thank you guys enough. Don't ever forget, you guys are always loved here on my channel. I appreciate it so much. And like I said in my other video, once I hit 100 subscribers, there will be another giveaway. I don't know what it'll be. I'm thinking maybe some clothes. If not, maybe something else. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know in the comments, guys. Quiero muchísimo. Excuse me.